Welcome back into the QB Huddle Podcast. I'm Tim Smith, joined by my podcast partner, Brandon Noohi.
Yes, sir.
And here we are to talk all things quarterback all season long. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, like, comment, get involved. Brandon, let's get into it. We're going to start as we always do with college football. We had some top college football quarterbacks playing this week. Shedeur Sanders, Arch Manning, Cam Ward. Talk about what you saw.
Man, that Colorado-Baylor game was very exciting. I got off the plane from New York and caught the back end of it. They came back from 10 points and, in the rain. I mean, that's something that, legends are made of. It was a pretty cool sight to see. I know Shedeur calls himself legendary, but that was a legendary moment. I mean, it is what it is. 50 yards down the field, he throws a dart. I can't remember number 10's name. I think it's Webster. Ends up making the tying score at end of regulation, sends them into OT. And what happens? They run the ball, right? I mean, I think they're doing really good, man. They've as a team, since we've called them out, just like everybody else. I mean, you obviously want to be prepared. You obviously want to compete, and they're doing that. And I think this helps them move forward going into the Big 12. I mean, for a Big 12 opener to look like that was pretty crazy. That was exciting to see. What about you, man?
I had a lot of fun with that game too. The game itself was awesome. I think that we overact a little bit after the game. I saw a lot of people.
Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders is the best quarterback in the country, number one off the board. This is what I'm going to say about what I'm seeing from Colorado. Their offensive line is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So Shedeur doesn't really have a lot of time to sit in the pocket.
Right.
When he does, he's able to deliver. That's certainly true. I think that, he's doing a lot of stuff off schedule right now. It reminds me a lot of what Caleb was doing at USC. It gives me hesitation for sure when you talk about the next level. A lot of what he's doing isn't transferable. But I will say this. He's a hell of an athlete. He's a incredible competitor, right?
I wouldn't say hell of an athlete.
I would, because I'm going to say it because of the way that he is getting guys and breaking those tackles and making, looping around in the backfield. He's doing some incredible stuff, man. And he's not running to run. He's running to throw.
Right.
And I'm going to say this is what I really learned about that game. Travis Hunter is the best football player in the country.
Period.
And if he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy, if we give it to another quarterback, it's absolutely ridiculous. The kid plays both ways the entire game and makes impact plays on both sides of the ball. If not for Travis Hunter, they don't win that game. And so, to me, Travis Hunter, he's hands
game-winning
down
tackle.
Heisman Trophy. Well, I mean, he pops the ball out with his helmet, right? He does exactly what he's taught. He's just textbook in everything that he does. He's a great route runner. He's textbook cover man. He can shut down half a football field. He's amazing to watch.
He's built like Justin Jefferson.
Is he really?
Kind of, if you look at their body types.
He doesn't look
long,
that big
lanky.
to me.
They're 6'1", but they play like they're 6'4".
He's
right?
amazing.
So, they play much taller than what they are. Another guy I had, and I don't think we're talking too much about him, is Cam Ward.
Yeah.
4-0. He's second in QBR. He's got 1,400 yards in 4 games, 14 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. He makes the game look very easy. I think this offense really helps. He's got Miami on a roll right now, and I think the only opponent that I feel like it'll be a challenge is Clemson. And so look out for Cam Ward, man. Don't slip on this guy, because I think right now, you see Shedeur and Cam, they used to train together in the summer. Cam Ward's a former Texas guy, and I think something here is brewing, right? For Cam to make his claim like, hey, I'm a top guy too, right? So it's literally, if he stays on this trajectory, man, he'll be in that Heisman race. He's just got to control what he can. But right now he looks as good as any quarterback in the country. No question.
Yeah, I've seen most people have been talking about him a lot. I've watched him play. I agree with you. I think he's right in there. It's not a deep quarterback class right now, but he's right in there in that top echelon when you talk about Quinn Ewers, Shedeur Sanders. You have to put Cam Ward in there.
Sure.
I'm looking to see Miami play some teams, but I think that he is doing a great job. He's definitely playing the position from the neck down. He's very accurate with the football. He's not reckless with the football. He did have one interception this weekend, but I like what I'm seeing from him. How about Arch Manning? He gets his first start against University of Louisiana Monroe. I mean, he did some great things. He threw a lot of deep balls. I think he connected on 4 or 5 deep shots. Here's my issue. You threw 2 interceptions. Looked a little shaky to start.
That happens.
If anything, I won't say an issue. I think we learned that it's still Quinn Ewers' job, right? I think Quinn Ewers is still the guy there.
Mm-hmm.
Could Arch Manning be the starter? Absolutely. But there's still some things that he's looking to work on and progress, and I think we saw some of that. What was your takeaway watching him play a team like Monroe?
I loved how he bounced back after the pick, right? You
Yeah.
know, showcase some poise. I mean, he's a freshman. He's going to go through it. I mean, this isn't anything new, right? He's still going through the growing pains. He hasn't seen all the questions. He doesn't have all the answers to the test yet. But I think him showing maturity and stepping up, especially against adversity, I think he did all right.
Yeah. I want to bring a quarterback to the forefront that no one's talking about. And I'm not usually one to find a diamond in the rough, but I think I might have. And I know that you recognized him when I said his name earlier, but the senior quarterback from Ole Miss who will be coming into the draft, Jackson Dart. He's 6'2", about 225. He leads the nation in passing right now with 1,500 yards. Yeah, or 1,554 to be exact. He's second in completion percentage with 79.8, tied for third in the nation with TD passes with 12. Last year, he threw for 3,300 yards, 23 TDs, 5 INTs in limited action. So he certainly knows how to protect the football. He was 22 of 31 this week, 382, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception in a 52-13 win over Georgia Southern. I'm saying that look for this kid to maybe be a mid-first rounder to even second-round pick, but be a steal for a team that's looking for a younger quarterback that maybe have an older quarterback in the room to bring him along. He's not super athletic, although he can run as well, by the way. I think he's a guy that's certainly underrated, not being talked about, maybe because of where he plays in the SEC. But, man, what are your thoughts on Jackson Dart? Is this a guy that could make it to the next level?
I think he can. He has a lot of games under him. And so, under that Lane Kiffin offense, he's allowed to be creative. He's a former transfer from USC, during that whole.
Oh, no wonder you know him so well.
Yeah, I know Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, Jackson Dart did all right for us too, man. He's a competitor. It's good to see he's doing well. Again, the more games you got under you, the easier it is to translate to the NFL, especially under a coach that will give you the autonomy, work different personnels. He's playing in a very tough conference. I mean, obviously we know Big Ten and SEC are the 2 top dogs right now. So, I mean, to go on a 4-0 start, getting your name out there, hey, he's doing really well. So
and what a name. I love that name, Dart. What a great NFL quarterback name.
He has the Braveheart. He does the Braveheart face paint.
After I learned about him, I'm certainly going to be tuning in to some of those games. I want to see this kid. I've seen his highlights now, and I'm a fan of what I've seen so far. I like the way he plays the game. So he's a guy that's not in that handful of guys that we're talking about, but I want to bring his name up because he does currently lead the nation in passing, and there's something to be said for that, certainly. Brandon, you took some L's this week. You took quite a few L's this week. It was not a good week to be Brandon Noohi.
Oh, my God.
Let's talk about the big one. I mean, I'm just going to touch on this, but USC lost to Michigan. Alex Orji and the Michigan Wolverines had 32 yards passing, and you lost the football game. Tell me how you feel about that. Now, you were on an airplane during this game, so luckily you didn't get to watch it much. But tell me how you feel about that.
It hurts. It does, but to be fair, it wasn't a bad loss. It wasn't a bad loss. Former national champions on the road, tough atmosphere. You battle back, had some hiccups early.
This is such.
I think Miller Moss played well though. Miller Moss is good. Miller
He
Moss
played
is
real
good.
good.
Miller Moss was good. He made an errant pick, right? But I understand. Now, we couldn't stop a nosebleed with the run, man. That run is different. Then they rushed for over like 300 plus yards.
So you did though. The second and third quarter, I mean, Michigan couldn't move the ball. We couldn't get a first down. Couldn't run the ball anymore. You had everybody in the box. We couldn't throw the ball. Anytime we did try to throw, it was more or less a screen.
Pretty
we
bad.
didn't do anything in the second half until we sprung that big run in the fourth quarter to put us in position to win that game. It was pretty ugly. There's no reason for you to have lost that game. right or wrong.
Right,
No
but I
reason.
don't think I don't think that loss is going to hurt us right now. I think we should have won this one because the time difference, right? The time difference, the weather, like it was perfect to just steal one because that's the
Right.
difference going into the Big Ten, right? You're going to have two teams, Maryland and Minnesota in October, and who knows what type of weather that's going to be,
We agree
right?
you cannot win the Big Ten now, right? We agree that. You cannot. USC is not going to win the Big Ten this year.
No, I don't think we'll win the Big Ten.
Nope.
We got to stop the run a little bit better.
Yep.
But the fact we still competed, we lost by 3 points. I just wouldn't just write them off.
I mean, you lost to a team that threw the ball for 32 yards. Are we back in 1925?
I mean, that's what Michigan is right now. That they just pounded the football, man. That's.
I took it.
We got to recruit some Midwest Hogs, man. I think that's what it is. You got to have the Hogs up front.
We won the game, but it's obvious that Michigan does not have a quarterback. We're not going to win many more games in the Big Ten playing like we did the other day.
No,
Penn
not
State,
at all.
Michigan State, Ohio State are all going to thump us without a quarterback. But I don't understand. I wish somebody could answer this question. Michigan is a powerhouse, a Big Five powerhouse football team, most winningest program in all of college football. They're coming off a national championship. How do they not have a 5-star quarterback in the room?
Well, when you're 36% on third down, there's your answer.
That doesn't explain why they don't have a 5-star quarterback in the room. Where's the recruiting department? What's going on? Where's the Michigan recruitment department? How do we not have a quarterback? Michigan is known for their quarterbacks, and we don't have one.
At all.
None.
Doesn't look like. I don't think they trust him throwing the ball, which is a little bit odd. I mean, you're only throwing.
Sean Twix Edwards, our very own Sean Twix Edwards, who helps us with our social media stuff, saw him in college or in high school. Orgy.
Yep,
said
I've
he
seen him
couldn't throw in high school either. His two brothers are linebackers. He was recruited at every other school to play other positions, but for some reason, Michigan told him, "You come play quarterback for us." That tells me Jim Harbaugh was headed out the door a couple of years ago. He was just waiting for JJ to graduate, and he didn't put any effort into finding the next quarterback for the Michigan Wolverines.
You guys have average 2.7 yards per pass. It wasn't good.
Disgusting.
It didn't look good. I mean, we were 5.4, so I mean, we're just hitting little chips here. But where I think the game was lost for USC was third down, man. I mean, we had to take advantage of third down. Granted, as a defense, we stopped you guys. You guys were 4-15 on third down. So the more you were ahead of the chains, the deadlier you were, right? It's
of course
kind of reminds me of that old team out west. It's kind of what it reminded me of. Obviously, different league, but we should have won more on third down, man. I mean, you got to take advantage of it, especially when they're running down your throat. You've got to score quick. But hey, overall good game. They competed. Respect to y'all. You're still poo, and we'll continue to thrive.
We are. Listen, I didn't come away from that win happy. It was more like a sigh of relief. Hey, we beat USC.
Now we got to go beat Wisconsin, Minnesota. Penn State comes to us. We go to Maryland, Rutgers, Nebraska, Notre Dame. They all come to us. So
you're pretty lucky that
we got lucky this first year.
Yeah,
that's why I said this was the game to just we won one away. So I expected to lose the next two. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen because of the weather, and we're not used to it.
Well,
we're used to rain. We're not used to snow, man.
Yeah.
Well, I say
you're lucky you're not playing in a whiteout game on a Saturday night in Penn State. I wish you were.
Yeah.
I wish you were, but you're not. So, oh well.
OU lost. Oklahoma State lost. Oh my God.
OU looked really bad.
Jackson Arnold got benched. Oof.
Wasn't good. And there was a gruesome injury in that game as well.
Oh, I didn't see that. But Tennessee looks really good. They're the real deal. We'll see. They're going to go into a schedule here shortly, which it might be a gauntlet. And
college football is about to be real fun.
Yeah, college football, man, is so saturated right now. Everything is like any team can beat anybody. It's hard to bet now. It's super weird. I don't like it anymore. I miss the dominance of college football when you knew that you played a Georgia or Alabama or Michigan or USC, or even a Nebraska or OU, that's an L. Somebody's going to take an L there. But now it's just, God, it makes it so hard betting.
Anyway,
It's watered down. It's watered down, Tim.
let's get out of the college and move into what we're really here for, and that's the NFL talk, where you also took another L, as did I.
Jeez.
The 49ers dropped one to the Rams, and neither team had a starting receiver on the field. Man, go ahead. I got to let you get this out, man. The 49ers lost, and Brock Purdy played really, really well. So how did you lose the game, and what's next for the 49ers?
Well, how did we lose that game? Oh, my goodness. Well, we missed a 55-yard field goal. But that's beside the point. Having a 14-point lead going into the fourth quarter, Kyle is normally very dominant. What did we do? We got away from the run again. That's what he loves to do. Now, sorry about that. I had something in my throat.
You're good.
What was answered in this game was two things. Number one, we actually have a number one receiver, and his name is Juwan Jennings.
Okay.
Number two, Brock Purdy is for real. The man had 2 incompletions and 6 drops. He was 22 of 30, 292, 3 TDs, no picks.
He was on fire.
On fire. Used his legs really well, scrambled, made plays when needed. Here's another thing. We also know who's not a receiver number one and got overpaid. BA. I need you, brother, to let the locks hang. I need you to go get your long sleeves, the loose sleeves again. I need you to have that swag, man, because this new face mask, this new hair tie, the little quarter sleeves, gotta go, brother. You look terrible. You look lost. You don't look confident. You don't look prepared.
Is he facing the same problem that CeeDee Lamb is facing?
I don't know. I mean, and I understand it's training camp, right? You haven't been there, right? But this just goes to show it doesn't matter what type of talent you are. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Okay? Juwan Jennings is an undrafted guy, right? This is his second team. He's on a pretty decent contract to be a third-year receiver, okay, or a third option. Really, he's the fourth option or fifth option. And he goes out and has one of the best performances that we have seen as Niner fans since T.O. and Jerry Rice. He's one of the first to have over 10 catches and 3 touchdowns in a single game. The only 2 to do that was Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens. By the way, he had 175 receiving yards. And it looks like him and Brock Purdy have developed this chemistry. I love it. I love where it's going. It's not on them. Defense couldn't stop a damn nosebleed. Let Kyron Williams have 3 touchdowns rushing. They are depleted on the offensive line. They lost 2 receivers. They're starting receivers who have tremendous volume, and we saw just how good Matt Stafford is if you don't get to him. Matt Stafford is a very good quarterback. I'm tired of people dogging him. That is an elite quarterback. He can throw the ball just as good as anyone we have ever seen. And he can still move a little bit. If you don't get to him, we didn't have pressure, although we did have 3 sacks. Defensive line didn't do well. We didn't convert. DBs were getting beat deep. They were actually running deep, which normally people don't do. And so now that exposes us to a degree. Steve Wilk at this defense averaged 17 points a game. This team, depleted with the offensive line and receivers, scored 27?
Right. I mean, there was no one that could have expected the Rams to win yesterday.
Brutal
loss. If you
loss.
told me that Brock Purdy was going to play great, that Jennings was going to have 3 touchdowns, and you were still going to lose the game, I would call you a liar. So it's surprising that the defense just shit the bed the way they did.
Well, here's the thing with us. This is what I noticed when we lose games. We fail to convert on first and second down. We are a first and second down team. We're a zone team that's built off of play action and boots. Once we get past the chains and it's like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, it's really hard to call plays as a coordinator, as you know, but we don't have that spread out game. Brock came from a spread offense. He came from a multiple style offense in college. Let that bitch fly, man. The concepts are a little iffy to me. It's all about space. And we don't do a very good job, especially in a 10 personnel set, of creating space. Because as you know, the 3rd touchdown that Brock had, they do some double zig and zig out, and 2 people are in the same spot. And I'm like, what are we doing? And it's the red zone. I didn't like that. I don't like the play calls outside of, if we're not pounding you on first and second down and we're not ahead of the chains, we don't know how to come back. It's proven.
Yeah.
Right? Proof's in the pudding. This is probably the worst loss in the Shanahan era under Kyle. This is unacceptable.
Okay.
Unacceptable.
Yeah,
I'm going to let you have it, man.
That was pretty bad just
You had a bad one, too.
Yeah, I had a real bad one.
And you saw it live.
I actually got to go. Shout out to Jack Henry. He took my wife and I to the game. He's got the season tickets on the 50.
Sure.
Right below Jerry Jones, right over the Cowboys bench. So we were real excited. I went into the game with some optimism, even though I probably shouldn't have. I got to tell you, Brandon, it was one of the worst games I've ever watched in person. The game itself bored me to tears. Nothing but really running the football. Neither quarterback was overly impressive to me. There was lots of running from the Ravens because we know the Cowboys can't stop the run at all. Lamar threw 15 times. Lamar ran the ball 14 times. He was extremely efficient. He was 12 of 15, 182 yards. He only threw one ball in the air over 10 yards. So when I say it's a boring game as a fan, I want to see chunk plays. I want to see the ball going downfield. I wanted to see Lamar do some Lamar type things, and we just didn't get to see it because he didn't need it. The Cowboys were so bad on defense that you didn't need to do anything extraordinary. It was bad, man. The yak was great. If you're the Ravens, Cowboys couldn't tackle anybody. Obviously, they can't play the run, nor can they tackle in the secondary. It was really, really bad. Dak was awful till the fourth quarter. We can talk about the numbers that he put up, but once again, he threw the ball 51 times. We talked about him throwing over 40. He doesn't win. He's now 8-16. I'm going to say 8-17 because last week he threw 39 times, which is right at 40, and lost the game. The problem with the Dallas Cowboys, we can't run the ball and we can't stop the run. So am I saying this is all on Dak? No. But Dak needs to figure out a way to elevate this team. Him and CeeDee are not on the same page. He threw CeeDee under the bus in the press conference after the game.
He did?
Yeah, he didn't call him by name, but he said, look, if we're not in the building in training camp and we're not where we're supposed to be and we're not in the right place at all. Now, this is one-sided, of course. We don't know. I can tell you this. Being there right behind the bench, CeeDee was extremely frustrated the entire day. Dak and CeeDee did not talk a whole lot. I know Dak tried to, buff him up a couple times after the fumble. He tried to, come on, you got this, because Dak is a leader. But CeeDee at one point took himself out of the game. He was taking his helmet off. He was pouting. He was yelling. He wasn't happy. And it's not a good scenario when your quarterback talks about you in the media. Even if he doesn't call you by name, we know what receiver wasn't in camp, right? And we know where the disconnect was all day. A lot of his stats came in that fourth quarter. Like I said, I think we had 6 points in the fourth. We scored 19. Here's the problem. Yep, you scored the touchdown in a soft shell coverage. That's great. You're completing passes now. What happened when we needed the 2-point conversion? Couldn't get it. What happened when we needed the 2-point conversion again? Couldn't get it. When we needed the play, we couldn't get it. And that's the whole thing. That's Dak. That's the running backs. That's the O-line. That's Mike McCarthy not being creative enough. That's everybody, right? It was terrible. The game was winnable at the end, we would say, but I'm going to tell you it wasn't, because you needed all those 2-point conversions to do anything. And so you're just too far behind when you can't stop the run. It was ugly. I enjoyed my time there. Of course, I enjoy going to those games. A lot of fun. We get free food and, eat ourselves, candy and steak and ribeye and chicken wings. And that was awesome. But the game was terrible. Bro.
Dang,
the game
man.
was terrible. Again, Dak is 8-17 when he throws the ball more than, I'll say, 39 times. Threw the ball 51 times yesterday. And all of his good stats came in the fourth quarter when most of the stadium, by the way, was Raven fans. All the Cowboy fans had left. So if you're a Cowboy fan that went to the game, you didn't even see the good part of the game. But again, you know how it goes, Brandon. You're up 28-6. What happens? Soft shell coverage. Let's not give anything over the top.
Right.
Let's let them have their completions, underneath. And that's exactly what was happening, and that's why the comeback happened. Now, credit to the defense for shutting down, but again, the Ravens, they hit the brakes, right? They hit the brakes too soon, maybe. But
yeah,
they kind of shut down their offense for some reason. That's why I say neither team was really impressive. Yesterday's win by the Ravens, to me, is more about the ineptitude of the Dallas Cowboys as a whole than it was about how good the Ravens were. So I still don't think the Ravens are a world-beating football, Super Bowl-bound football team. But I don't think the Cowboys are very good either. Do you have any thoughts on my Dallas Cowboys?
I didn't watch it as much, but Lamar is 21-1 against NFC teams. So when you don't face Lamar as often, it's going to be really hard to defend him. And getting the ball rolling with Derrick Henry, feed that monster, man. That guy's a volume. He's a volume back.
He was the story.
That's a volume back, right?
Yeah.
There was no appearance of Zay Flowers. Mark Andrews has literally gone dark, which is a topic. I'm not trying to get off topic here, but the two best tight ends in the league, two of the three best tight ends in the league, don't have very many targets amongst each other. And is there a concern? Is there a problem going on in Baltimore with that? I know he's coming off of injury, but you still got to give him at least 3 attempts, man.
They're not throwing the ball very much.
I thought the Ravens really held back a lot. Now, is that because of a Derrick Henry injury? Is that because of a injury within the backs? As far as that room, I'm not sure how you allowed him to come back. But it did show, like, you can be as negative as you want with the Cowboys. At least they did show fight to get within 3.
I love the fight.
Despite the blood. Right. So
I want to see
it was
that
a no-say. Right. You obviously got to get rolling, right? But when a league gets out of hand so fast, it's just really hard to dissect it. And also, the relationship with CeeDee Lamb and Dak, man, that should have been fixed. The second he signed that contract, man, you should be at the house throwing the ball.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. The second BA just go to a test with, we got a problem situation in San Francisco. Brandon Ayuk doesn't show any confidence. I don't know what's going on with him, but he doesn't look the same. And so
you're to CeeDee. CeeDee's dropping balls. CeeDee, he dropped a couple yesterday.
But at least he catches and shows up sometimes, scored a touchdown. But he hasn't done anything.
I get it. CeeDee doesn't look like CeeDee is my point. And fumbling in the red zone is not a CeeDee Lamb thing. And that changed the game because at that point the game was still pretty tight. Yeah, the Baltimore scored early. They had the big chunk play to the tight end.
Sure.
They had the big missed tackle on the 6-yard route throw that went for 60, 70 yards. But at that point, it was 14-3. You're going in to score to make it 14-10, and now it's a ball game. You fumble, ball game changes. Complete change of the game. Change.
I didn't watch all of it.
It was not good.
These guys who are getting paid high. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about the Cowboys anymore because Cowboys are pissing me off, man. They got to put something together. They're 1-2, and I gave them credit for maybe 9 to 10 wins this year. Now I'm wondering if we can get 7 to 8. Maybe I'm overreacting, but it has to get better. Across the board, has to get better.
Likewise.
Rookie quarterbacks. We talk about these rookies. Jaden Daniels plays tonight, so we don't get to talk about him. Although Caleb and Bo, man, they both showed improvement last week or yesterday. I thought in the game on Sunday. Caleb, big improvement from week 1 to week 2. He threw 2 touchdowns this week, his first 2. He threw 52 times, though. I'm not necessarily a fan of that.
That's a lot.
2 interceptions. Chicago, they still need to find a run game. A rookie quarterback without a run game is a disaster. That you and I both could agree to that. But I felt like he was doing more from inside the pocket. Rather, he wasn't as ad-libby as what we've seen. But here's another takeaway from that game. And Anthony Richardson played good. They played good enough to win. But do you realize he's got 6 interceptions? He leads the league.
Let me ask.
Richardson, 6 INTs. The only one he doesn't lead. There's one guy that has more than him. That's Will Levis. So he's got to get that under control, does Anthony Richardson. He's got to stop throwing the ball to the other team. You know what I mean? You got to control that. He had another one yesterday. Other than that, good job by the Colts, but Caleb Williams, rookie, improved. What you got?
Did you watch that game?
I watched as much as I could on my phone. Yes,
that game was terrible. That game was
Caleb
horrible.
That's the point.
Caleb, okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing that drives me nuts with Caleb. Caleb doesn't keep his eyes downfield. Caleb will drop his eyes and look at the defensive line, and now he's spinning and spinning. There should have been like 14 sacks that game. He doesn't throw still on time.
He did. Now, granted,
he did have a moment where he was down by 14, and he had that long drive for his first touchdown. I will give him that. It shows that he can play in this league. It does.
Oh, we're looking for it right now?
Yeah, but dude, It's not
I didn't
good.
say it was a good game. I said
Anthony
Caleb
Richardson,
showed
it
improvement.
was absolutely horrible. Horrible.
What was he horrible at?
Everything besides
Everything.
run. He looks like a tight end. Like he's got a cannon for an arm. He does. But
Yeah.
he misses the easiest throws in his decision making. It's not quite there yet. Now I'm giving him the
No.
benefit of the doubt.
He's
It's
not
his
there.
rookie season to me. But you're 10 of 20 for 2 INTs. Between these guys, they had 5 turnovers. This was a horrible game.
I didn't say it was a good
bad.
game.
This
My
was
point-
the worst
hey,
game.
We are judging Caleb week to week. We're judging all 3 weeks.
I get it. There's
Did you
improvement.
not see Caleb improve a little bit? It wasn't
Okay.
for improvements, right?
Okay.
The Bears still need to be able to run the football. Period.
Minimal. He still
Okay,
needs to throw
2
on
touchdowns.
time.
His first 2
I
of the
mean,
season.
he threw 52 times and you score 16 points.
I got you. All right. So you disagree. I say there was improvement for Caleb. I
No.
don't think he's there yet. You
No,
say
I mean it shows can he make the throws? He can. He's close. It's not just so far off, but you have got to stop running into sacks. You have got to throw the ball on time. Like you have got
no question.
like it's bad. Like it doesn't look good. It doesn't look like, "Oh, there it is." Like, "Oh,
No,
it's-
we haven't seen that yet.
Like,
You're
hey,
right.
man, you are not Kyler Murray or Jalen Hurts
Or Patrick Mahomes.
or Patrick. Like, you can't move like them. Like, you
Yeah.
haven't figured that part out yet. Like, you're running into things. And that's what I saw a lot this game. That game was, ugh.
How about Bo Nix? What'd you see out of Bo Nix?
Bo did good, man. He had a couple plays where he showed, hey, Jaden Daniels ain't the only one that can move. And
True.
I liked it. I mean, he had a good feel for the pocket. This is what I go with to Caleb Williams. He didn't have a feel for the pocket yet. He didn't have that, and he has the ability to move around, and he will. But Bo just looked a little bit more comfortable on the road, stealing one from Tampa. Tampa didn't look the same. It looked pretty bad. I mean, he was 25 of 36. Even though he has not thrown a touchdown pass, he has done somewhat okay. I think Sean Payton is pleased with that, getting one on the road. You're going to go through these rookie bumps. And I'm not saying Caleb is absolutely terrible or Bo is either. You just got to go through the process, right? I'm not a fan of just throwing you in the fire in the beginning. I'd rather you sit behind a good vet that can kind of, show you the ropes a little bit in the first quarter of the season. If it's going to shit, then hey, get in there, kid, and spin it and be fearless. I think these guys are so worried about making the mistake, and they make the mistake instead of being instinctive in what got them here. And so I also think these coordinators, need to tailor a little bit more to their skill set of what they came out of college. It's a different game. It's a faster game. You can't be taking 7-step drops all the time, Sean Payton.
No.
That shit don't work no more. They're
doing a
too
good
fast.
job they're doing a good job with that with Jaden Daniels in Washington.
Yeah, they're catering to his skill set. That's what you need to do. Caleb was under center 80% of the time. I'm like, that's not him.
I think
You
we're
can get him on some boots.
I think we're learning something in Chicago that, man, it's Chicago. It's
Put him in.
It's not. It wasn't Justin Fields. It wasn't Mitch Trubisky. It's
He
not.
should have kept
Caleb
Justin
Williams.
Fields.
It's Chicago.
Yeah.
It's Chicago. Bo Nix, I really like to see his progression. Yes, no touchdowns, but no interceptions. 80 QBR, 47 yards on the ground.
Not bad.
I could care less what the quarterback does on the ground, but that is part of Bo Nix's game. He did run for a touchdown, so give it to him. My question, more so of seeing Bo Nix get better, is what happened to Tampa Bay yesterday?
Ooh.
I mean, it's going to happen throughout the year. You're going to lose games you shouldn't lose. But, I mean, they laid an egg complete on both sides of the ball.
Well, they didn't convert 2 fourth downs that were crucial that they needed. I mean, they were only averaging 3.3 per pass. They didn't run the ball. They ran the ball not bad, 16 for 91. I don't know because, again, it's another game that I didn't have an opportunity to watch. But when you look at the stat line, I mean, obviously turnovers kill games. And the fact that they turn the ball over more than the other team is probably what's going to happen. I think getting up on a 14-0 lead immediately, set a tone. And it's like, oh, shit, well, most teams that are built on the run, it's hard for them to come back. It really is.
And Baker never looked comfortable yesterday.
He didn't look comfortable. I mean, he was still 25 of 33, 163 yards. It's the entire NFL to me has been, from a quarterback standing, pretty subpar. I mean, this is the lowest in passing yards that we've had in the history of the NFL. Or, well, I wouldn't say the history, but I'd say in a huge stretch. Lowest points we've had in the NFL for a very long time. I mean, you can go look it up.
I know.
We have more field goals. We have more field goals than we've ever had in the history.
It's been pretty disgusting to watch.
Pretty bad. It's a lot of bad football, man. And we'll dive more into that, especially once we get to the garbage juice section. Or, in this case, the tables have turned as we lead into the QBs that are on fire.
Let's go to that on fire segment, because there were some guys that were on fire. And I'm going to take the first one, because we're going to talk about this in Hot Topics as well. But, man, there's been a lot of talk in Carolina that the Carolina Panthers failed Bryce Young. It's not Bryce Young's fault. What are they doing? Bryce Young should ask for a trade. Andy Dalton stepped in and went 26 for 37, 319, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, a QBR of 123.
Interesting.
If that doesn't tell the story of whose fault it is in Carolina, I don't know what does. Andy Dalton was on fire, and he does this everywhere he goes to help train a young quarterback. This is what Andy Dalton does when he gets in the game. He lets you know that he is still that guy, right? He can still sling the football. What did you think of good old Andy Dalton, the red-headed rifle, yesterday?
Preparation. I mean, he was prepared. I mean, every quarterback that sits behind a guy, you may not like it. Unfortunately, the quarterback position, one guy can play, the other guy sits and backs him up and encourages him and prepares as much as he can. Yeah. This is about seizing your opportunity. And the head coach has done this with Baker, and now he's about to do it with Andy Dalton. And so coming out there, he looked really good. Now, granted, the Raiders, there's no game plan for Andy Dalton. So, again, it could, a lot of that could play into it. But Andy Dalton is a good bridge quarterback, but he's also a true professional. 3 TDs, 319, got their first win after benching Bryce Young. Hopefully Bryce Young can really take a lot from this. And it's all about throwing on time, getting to your checkdowns on time. You don't have all the time in the world. This isn't Alabama where you have a 5-star line. In fact, no NFL team has a great offensive line. Doesn't exist. But you got to get the ball out on time. You got to have good pre-snap. You got to have good post-snap reads. And I thought he did great. He did exactly what I thought he was going to do. I was like, Andy Dalton's going to ball today. You're going to see a whole different guy.
We're going to talk about him a little bit later, because there's a theme that we have to talk about a little bit later of some of these journeyman quarterbacks. And if you notice, Brandon, a lot of them are older. A lot of them do some of the things that these younger quarterbacks aren't equipped to do. When you talk about fixing your protections and changing things at the line of scrimmage, because of the what Tom Brady talked about and you talked about on our very show was the dumbing down of football and how it's become so basic. And hey, here's the play. Run the play, right, with the clap snap. And we see some guys that aren't getting the big $200 million, that aren't getting big signing bonuses, but have been in the league long enough that are going out there when they get their opportunity and outplaying some of these $200 million quarterbacks. But we're going to talk about that. Who else did you have on fire? Because I have 2 more guys. I'm curious if we have the same 2 guys.
I have the former Trojan, Sam Darnold.
Same.
He moves to 3-0. Absolutely beat up the Texans. Man, what a story.
Great story for him in Minnesota.
4 TDs. Like I said, he didn't throw a lot in the air, but he was extremely efficient. We have never denied Sam's talent. There's never been somebody said, oh, he is absolutely terrible, with his talent. With his talent.
Oh, well, talent.
This guy can make throws that only a handful of guys can make. He has great athleticism. You just have to control him a little bit, right? He's got this awkward personality, but I think the mesh between him and O'Connell it just looks really good. I mean, granted, that's the same 49er offense, but what I like that they do is they're more uniquely talented as far as just play calling designs on third down. That's something I've noticed very much so. Aaron, it helps that you got a good running game, but Sam Darnold has done very well. Again, another, former first-round pick, got benched, moved from team to team. I think he's found his home, at least temporarily, and just
Yeah.
continue to take advantage of your opportunity.
And I hope JJ is sitting back there and soaking it all up. And I know he
Has
is.
to.
I know he
Has
is.
to.
And so I'm loving that Sam Darnold is having a great season, if not just for him, for the sake of JJ and his development. So this is going to be a great scenario for the Vikings, who could be a very good team for a very long time, set at the quarterback position. I had Brock Purdy. I know the 49ers lost, but
Purdy did his thing.
22 for 30, 292, 3 touchdowns, 137 quarterback rating during the game. Man, and without Debo, without
And 6
Christian
drops.
McCaffrey, he was amazing yesterday. So I've got to put him on fire. I think, I've always been a fan of the way he plays the game. He's kind of an old school type quarterback to me. I love him, and he was great yesterday, even in the loss. It wasn't his fault. You talked about it. Certainly the defense has to shoulder some of that and your drop passes. So I had Brock Purdy. Did you have Brock Purdy, and did you have anybody else?
I did, man. I did have Brock. I thought Brock answered a lot of questions for a lot of Niner fans, but also a lot of haters. That kid can play.
Sure
he can play, and the scouts completely missed him. He can play.
How about that play where he went to the right and then came back and ran to the left?
He can scramble, man.
Wow.
He can move. He's faster than what people think. And then he made that first down where he dove and flipped. I was like, dude, like, this guy's a gamer. Like, this guy is locked in always. I thought what he said about, Ronnie Bell, your former Michigan guy, even after the drop pass, it's just pure class and leadership. But he's got to get, him and BA have got to get on the same page, because if BA is involved in this offense explodes, like we seen last year. Another guy I had, and I'm going to give it to him, man, is the former Tennessee Titan quarterback who signed just 3 weeks ago with the Green Bay Packers and now have gotten their first 2 wins. Malik Willis, 2 TDs, 1 rushing, 1 passing. He had 73 yards on the ground against his former team. And to hear that story, just to turn around, culture matters, coaching matters. He's playing to his skill set. We've seen some of these plays that he saw from Liberty implemented into the game, allowed him to be himself. And I know Titan owners right now are just like, oh, my God, we messed this up. I know Titan, hey, guys, you miss Vrabel, don't you? You miss him because this is absolutely atrocious.
Titans are a mess. The Titans are a complete
But Malik
mess.
Willis, man, to fill in for Jordan Love, to find a new home potentially for a good insurance policy, both young quarterbacks. I mean, I think Green Bay just develops quarterbacks extremely well, man. And they've done it since I was a kid, and it's just like, man, they understand. They understand it, and it looks really good. I had even Aaron Rodgers, his 2 TD, 281, in the Thursday Jets opener. I think him getting that win was huge, despite some of his antics with him and the coach and Saleh. He's just a weird guy, but he got it done. And he showed at 40 years old, man, he can still throw it just as good as anybody. Honorable mentions for me was Justin Fields, Stafford, Jared Goff, and Daniel Jones. It's a little bit of a weird one, but hey, kudos to those W's outside of Brock. Damn. And we also have our honorable mention: Daniel Jones, Justin Fields, Matt Stafford, and Jared Goff.
It's a good little list.
I mean, they got the W. I mean, not a lot of stats, as far as passing yards go, but as we know, it's been the lowest, in yards, touchdowns, field goal, especially field goals have gone up. But let's get into this garbage juice, man. There's a lot of bad quarterback play. In fact, 21 interceptions were thrown yesterday. 21. That's a lot.
That is a lot. I'm gonna take us to one team. I've got 2 quarterbacks on one team that are gonna go into the garbage juice.
Ooh.
The Miami Dolphins are struggling.
Man,
Tim
come
Boyle
on, man.
Was
Let 'em
7
live,
for,
man.
was 7 for 13 for 79 yards. It's absolutely terrible.
Let them live, man.
Skylar Thompson was 13 for 19 for 107 yards. Absolutely terrible. I got to put them both in there. I don't know what's going on in that quarterback room in Miami. Hey, the Cowboys have Trey Lance. He's not doing anything. He's available.
Yeah, you got to make the move with Trey
Let's make a
Lance. He
deal.
knows the offense.
Let's make a deal, Miami. Let's make a deal right now.
Mostert for Lance?
Yes. Although, you know what really aggravated me yesterday is seeing Dalvin Cook on the sideline without
what's that
equipment
about?
on.
What's that about?
Why is he not dressed? Zeke got 3 carries for 6 yards, man. Like,
That's not good.
It's
That's not
we got to do
good.
something. I love Zeke. I'm glad he's here. But anyway, this is not a Cowboys show. This is a garbage juice segment. So there's the first two coming out of Miami. Who you got?
He lives in here, pretty much. Will Levis.
Oh,
Get
yeah.
on in here, man.
Yeah,
7
yeah.
turnovers in the last 3 games. 2 turnovers yesterday, which moves him to 0-3. It's unfortunate because that defense is really good. I do think they shut down a lot of offensive teams. But as of right now, man, Will Levis has got to turn a corner. I mean, as talented as he is, you've got to rear back some of those traits that you have, just doing a lot of dumb shit. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Like, what are you doing? Pardon my French.
He
but
loves to give the ball away. That's his
what are
favorite
you
thing to
doing? So throw the ball away. Like,
Oh.
if I can imagine his head coach is going nuts, man. Quarterback coach is going nuts. Like, you were not
He's a
taught to do some of those
mayonnaise
things.
He's a mayonnaise model. He's a turnover machine.
Yeah, it's because he likes mayonnaise in his coffee. Like, who does that?
This is weird.
That should have
stuff going
been
on.
that should have been the red flag right there.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
you like mayonnaise in your coffee? I'll never try it, but couldn't
The
convince me to.
commercial is I don't know
It's
if you
very
saw it.
cringe. Like the youngsters say, it's very cringe.
Cringe.
Mm.
All right.
Who you got?
I'm going to go to the Northeast. I'm going to stay in the AFC East and go to New England. And I hate to say this because I like him. I'm rooting for him to do well, but Jacoby Brissett, brother, 12 of 18 for 98 yards. You've been in the NFL how long and you can't muster up a 100-yard game? That is terrible.
I mean, he didn't throw picks, though.
Terrible. I don't care about the picks. I care about the fact that you couldn't even throw for 100 yards in an NFL game as a veteran. Like, you are supposed to be teaching the young kid behind you what is going on in New England. They're just terrible as a team. The whole team is going in the garbage juice. The entire New England Patriots team, everybody.
Will we get Drake May next
Garbage
week?
juice.
Will we get Drake May?
Bro, I think at this point, you're not going to lose anything by letting
Right.
Drake May go out there and play.
Right.
You're not going to lose anything.
And he's going to run up into the Niners, and we're coming off of 2 losses. That should be interesting.
Let's go.
All right.
Yeah, man. I know there's a laundry list. Do we want to go through them? Do we want to give pub? Or do we want to talk about, was there anybody else that just was so terrible that we have to bring up in this?
Absolutely, both of them. Both of them. This was the worst game of the week, and I actually watched it in its entirety.
Oh, which game was that?
The Colts versus the Bears was absolute dog water.
Was that worse than the Saints versus the Eagles?
Yes.
Okay.
It was bad. Between the two quarterbacks, 5 turnovers, right? Caleb Williams, QBR 37. Anthony Richardson, QBR of 17.
Okay.
It didn't look good, man. It didn't look good. I mean, these two are incredible talents. But once again, we can't take the sacks. We can't. This isn't college. Like you gotta get rid of the ball. You gotta throw to your check down. Anthony Richardson makes some amazing throws, but it's maybe 3 of them completed.
Yeah, he throws a lot of interceptions.
The routine throws, they're bad. I mean, after you just made that incredible throw on the corner route, beautiful on a rope, 40 yards, and then you get in the red zone and throw it literally to 3 people. So I never understood that. In the red zone, you got to throw the ball away. I'm not saying these guys are absolute dog water because it's not. The game was trash. Hopefully these guys learn from it and take away from it because Caleb did get better, but asking him to throw 52 times
That's
when
too
you
much.
can't really run the ball, that is entirely too much. They're the lowest in points. They're last in everything.
Jeez.
Literally.
Embarrassing.
The Bears are last in everything, and they have a lot of talent. Anthony Richardson, man, you're also, you've got to find a way to turn a corner. You have to. It is the rookie season, but show us that you can play this position from the neck up and not just based on all talent. I like Anthony Richardson. I might get hit over the head with this, but your job is to deliver the mail. Your job isn't to run over like 5 people. Okay?
No.
Like you look like a tight end right now. Like you kind of do.
That's fair.
But with a gun. And it just looks like, I don't know, man. If you ever just watch him, he just looks like he's a big dude. He's fun to watch, but it's just like, you've got to calm it down. Just like Caleb, you've got to calm it down. You've got to settle in. There's a few drives that show that, hey, we can play in this league. And I'm not saying they're horrible, but I'm saying, man, you've got to learn from your mistakes. And they continue to keep doing the same thing.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I'm worried about Anthony
that's just
Richardson. He still doesn't protect himself, and he turns the ball over a bunch of times. Hey, I'm going to go back to the AFC South. I feel like your Will Levis needs some company. And C.J. Stroud, for the first time in his career,
he laid an
is in
egg.
garbage juice. 20 for 31, 215. That doesn't seem bad. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and a QBR quarterback rating of 68. That's about the worst we've seen C.J. And
Yeah.
we expect better, especially the way that they've come out really playing good football this year, and laid an egg yesterday. And C.J. he's got to take some of the brunt of that, and he's got to take a visit to the garbage juice.
Yeah,
C.J.
he's there.
Stroud.
He's there. He'll bounce back. And all these guys will bounce back. I don't know about Will Levis. I think his ego's he's got to drop the ego, but I think Caleb and Anthony and CJ, I think these guys will bounce back. It's
Yeah.
you can lay a stinker sometimes.
Every once in a
Not
while.
all the time. Not all the time. And so far Will Levis has been in the stinker a lot.
Well, as we get into this, and we've kind of outlined who was good, who was bad, but you brought this up and wanted to talk about this today. The backup journeyman quarterbacks that are outplaying the high-paid quarterbacks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do we mean by that? Baker Mayfield, right, versus Dak Prescott, let's just say. Sam Darnold, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, these guys that have been written off, that aren't getting the big contracts, that aren't eating up salary cap space on their teams, outside of maybe Kirk Cousins, because he's gotten the bag more than once. But these guys are playing really, really well, veteran guys for the most part outside of Justin Fields. Man, what do you think is the difference? Because I have a theory what it is with the veteran guys, with the older quarterbacks. I think Justin just needed a change, but what do you think is going on that these guys are outplaying these young, high-paid guns right now?
Well, I think it attests to just them coming up in a different era, right? The game has been watered down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very college centric now, more than pro centric. And what I mean by that is, changing protections, having different option routes that you do have, using those slide protections, being able to change the play at the line of scrimmage, having that control. Unlike the center now has a lot of that control, which we see a lot now. I just think right now these guys are used to 5 and 7 step drops. These guys are used to getting the ball out on time, either with a hitch or no hitch. And these guys have been in the fire. Sam Darnold has started more than 30 plus games. Baker Mayfield, same thing. We can go down the list with these guys. Andy Dalton, we forgot Andy Dalton was a franchise quarterback for the Bengals and took them to the playoffs literally every single year. Did he win a playoff game? No, he didn't. But he got them there.
He was there.
Geno Smith has learned from 3 of the best quarterbacks in their era. With
Geno Smith, I didn't even mention him. He's playing
Peyton
great.
Manning. With Peyton Manning, Geno's 33, Sam's 27. I mean, you're getting these guys that are a little bit up in age. However, they've come from a different era. In the past 3 years, the NFL has dramatically changed, and it's allowed these new type of weapons, these talented quarterbacks, based on their skill set, to really thrive. You don't see a lot of the Joe Burrows. You don't see a lot of the Aaron Rodgers anymore. Justin Herbert has a unique skill set. So I personally feel right now that these guys are taking advantage of the moment. They're more calm. They can get in and out of situations. They understand, hey, you can't force this. You got to turn, you can't turn the ball over in this situation. And it's really exposing the younger quarterbacks because they haven't gone through the fire yet. They've only been through just sort of the fire. And then you see a guy like, I'm going to bring him up, but a guy like Brock Purdy, who had multiple starts in college, and he comes into a system and he plays within this system. Now, does he get sporadic sometimes? Yes, they all do. But out of all the young guys, him and CJ look like they just have it and they get it. They understand what they need to do. What about your thought? What's your take on this?
I watch them play, and they play the position differently. So I'm not even going to go old school, new school. Because Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts are the same age. They played around the same time period. There's not a huge gap between them. Baker plays the game differently than Jalen does. Baker doesn't rely on the RPO. Baker doesn't rely on his running ability, although he can run if needed. It's a different way to play the game. And you look at somebody like Kyler Murray, who is extremely athletic. he's having an immense amount of success this year. But why is that? If you've noticed, and I watched a lot of his clips yesterday, he's running around, but he's not running to run anymore necessarily. He's running to throw. And he's also being more patient in the pocket, right? He's grown up a little bit. You can be athletic all day long. It's been proven that those guys don't ascend to take their teams and win playoff games and go to Super Bowls. It's the quarterbacks that can do all. Patrick Mahomes, if you guys don't think Patrick Mahomes can change protections, change the play, and has full autonomy at the line of scrimmage, you're fooling yourself. He 100%. Has that ability. Yep. Other guys don't. Other guys, yep. Lamar doesn't even really do it. Lamar will change the play from one side to another, but he's not up there changing protections, talking to the center, talking to his receiver, changing the formation. He's just not doing those things. And so these more athletic quarterbacks that rely so much on their athletic ability aren't really spending the extra time. I don't think Caleb is in the film room spending an extra 5 hours a week, 10 hours a week, honing in his craft. These guys are, I'm athletic. I can get out of the pocket. I can do this. They depend on the wrong thing. These guys like Andy Dalton, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith, they can't depend on their legs necessarily, right? So they have to play the game from the neck up. I think they play it differently, and I think that those are still the guys, regardless of how the NFL changes, those are still the guys that are going to have success, the guys that can make their lives easier at the line of scrimmage, right? For one thing, and that can I guess trust the pocket is the word I'm looking for.
Protect himself,
and make the plays, because the plays outside the pocket are exciting, and and we talk about it and we put it on highlight films. Those aren't the plays that are winning games. Right?
The NFL is so fast, man. You got to get rid of the ball on time, and we saw that huge change when Andy Dalton stepped in with the Panthers. It's crazy how different it looked. Right, he was on time. He wasn't dancing around. He was getting rid of the ball. Go ahead.
I was going to say, look how different the Falcons look with Kirk Cousins in there, who's a true pocket passer compared to the quarterbacks that they've had. A little bit of a carousel of running quarterbacks, athletic quarterbacks, things of that nature, and you get a true pocket passer in there. Derek Carr has solidified the Saints again, right? You've got you know who your number one guy is. You know that he knows the game inside and out, and he's got weapons. Well, I just have a problem, I guess. Not a problem. It's just you look at the guys that are playing well and the guys that we're talking about, they play the game in a different manner. And here's the thing. None of these guys are getting the bag outside of Kirk Cousins. So that brings us to the other piece of this is, should these younger quarterbacks start to think about things the way some of the older generation did and spread the money around the team a little bit?
Yes.
Stop
being an idiot. Like, I get it, get in the bag, but you're literally making up 20 to 25% of your cap. So you got to understand, I love the Baker Mayfield deal. 4-year, $100 million. I think that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Right?
Generational wealth.
It's generational wealth. He probably has sponsors with Tampa. I mean, you got the keys to the city for years, right? And so I feel like right now, he can play himself into another contract before he hits 32. And so that's a huge win there too, because if you can protect yourself, you can sustain, and you can play for a very long time. Hence Aaron Rodgers. Now, I think what we're running into is a change from a quarterback perspective. I mean, Tim, I know you like Kirk Cousins, but he is so unathletic, bro. Like, and there are moments where you have got to use your legs to get out of harm's way, and he can't do it.
He can't.
So these guys that you're seeing,
Derek can.
They can move a little bit, right? And you have got to be able to move the tall 6'4", 6'5". I'm going to stand in the pocket like a statue. Those days are over, man. That 7-step drop is over. The guys are too fast now.
You have to be able to move.
You got to move to some degree. A 4.8 and under. Pat Mahomes runs a 4.8. Nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah. But you've got to have that ability to have that sixth sense and slide step and stuff. I think these guys are in such a college-centric offense that when their first read is taken away, they panic. And you cannot do that, right?
Well,
and I think that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a bunch of YouTube quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, we celebrated.
That's how I look at it.
Look at Shador the other night. I saw Shador sit in the pocket. You know, we talk about his O-line, but there were plays where he would sit in the pocket, look downfield. Nothing's open. Run to the right, run to the left, circle around a guy, break a tackle. Guess what? In the NFL, if you're sitting in the pocket for 4 seconds, you've done something horribly wrong, right?
Yeah, that ball's
and I
got to
saw
go.
some of that. And then when I see he's definitely first-round pick, he's going to be – well, guys, think about what you're talking about. There's a huge difference between the NCAA game and the pro game.
Sure, but
And some of these guys are having a hard time translating because they're allowed to do this nonsense in college and not being coached correctly how to play the position the right way. Coach JB talks about this all the time.
in fairness, look at what it's become. So this is what you have to go off with the sample size of 3 years.
But look who's still winning Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes isn't playing
Patrick
football that
Mahomes
way.
was a guy that was an unorthodox quarterback.
Brock Purdy's been to a Super Bowl.
Okay.
He doesn't play football that way.
Okay, Jalen Hurts plays
Conversely,
football that
Lamar
way.
Jackson can't get to a title game, and
He did
plays
get to
like
an
all
AFC
these
title
kids wanna
game.
play.
He got to an AFC title
can't-
game.
Okay, he's not in a Super Bowl.
But he doesn't have to prove that anymore. I don't think. I
I'm
think
just saying
he's
the
getting to an
style of
AFC title
play.
game. Right, but Cam Newton has been to a Super Bowl. Like, so to get
didn't win.
there. But my point is, Tim, they're getting there. So they got to finish it. That's all it is. That's all it is. These, I think, as far as athleticism, man, we have never seen so much talent compared to now. Like, these guys can go. Like, Sam Darnold, a guy who everyone thought he was washed, can throw just as good as anybody in the league when he has time and he can set his feet and make decisions, the correct decisions. Now, Sam can do some Sam stuff. We haven't seen it yet. I'm not hoping on it, but hey, continue to strive, man. They're Malik Willis, like, guy can move his feet. Guy has a powerful arm. You just got to control, harness in these guys, and it's all about coaching. I think it's coaching. Coaching matters. If you go back to some of these guys that came from pro-style offenses, well, we can look at Sam Darnold. He came under the same tree as Kyle Shanahan. You got to work like that. Andy Dalton came from a Jay Gruden offense when he was an offensive coordinator at Cincy. Had that terminology, understood how to change protections and different things, understood how to work at the line of scrimmage. Who else is another guy? Kirk Cousins, same thing. So these guys who are a little bit older, Baker Mayfield, same thing. I mean, he had Hugh Jackson his first year, right? So there's a lot of different parts that these other quarterbacks coming in, they don't have. Why? Because we got to cater to their skill set coming from college. Really, the trend started with Marcus Mariota and RG3. That's when it started to shift because you're starting to see these uber athletic guys. You're like,
didn't go well for either one
right.
of them. I mean,
Cam
look at
Newton,
Bryce
same
Young.
thing.
You know, we wanted to talk about Bryce Young, and all the talk was when he got benched, Carolina's failing Bryce Young. Coaches are failing Bryce Young. Everyone around Bryce Young failed Bryce Young. Andy Dalton steps in and throws 3 touchdowns and gets a big win for Carolina. So who's failing who? Is Bryce Young failing Bryce Young, or did Carolina fail Bryce Young? I feel like if Andy Dalton can step in there and have a day that he had, that maybe it's not Carolina's fault. There is
Two different style of QBs, man. Two different style of QBs. What people fail to realize, and what coaches fail to realize sometimes, it's not just, hey, you've got to run my system no matter what. You've got to cater to that guy's skill set. You have to. There has to be something implemented within that Alabama offense that made him successful. There has to be. There has to be at least 20 to 30% of it. And over time, he will get better and get better and get better. A veteran guy who can come in and work under center and work the line of scrimmage, that's a lot easier to adapt to. It's harder for a coach to adapt to a player's skill set. It's harder for them to come out of their shell and be like, okay, I have to adapt to this player's skill set. You're an OC, Tim. You've been successful at it. But if you got a guy that you're not really comfortable with and you got to get outside of your norm, you don't really like that, do you?
I mean, it's not, you don't want to do it, right? If you have a playbook,
You just say you don't want,
an
exactly.
offense that you want to run, you want a certain type of guy to run that style of offense, and then you get we had it in what was that, 2014 with the Stampede. Maybe it was 2016, I don't remember. But the year that we were there, you get hurt. You were a pocket passer who could run and had that ability, but And then we have another guy came in, Sid, who was a running quarterback. He was Lamar Jackson type. He was going to run the ball. We had to change the entire offense and make it so that he understood the terminology and could play within 4 days. If you remember, we sat.
But you catered to his skill set, right?
The first thing you have to do is say, what's this guy do well? That's what we're going to work on. It's not, what do you not do well? We're going to work on that and make you into what we want you. You do.
Most coaches do that, man.
You have to cater to the skill set. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these guys are coming into the league without an NFL type skill set because it's different when everybody on the field is as good as you, as fast as you, as big as you. And unfortunately for Bryce Young, I really think his size and the fact that he doesn't have special types of talent at his size is what's really hurting him more than anything. Because he's just a little dude.
I mean, you got to look at it. So I'm trying to think, like, what tree is Dave Canellis from? I think he's from the Pete Carroll tree. If I'm right, I could be wrong.
You could be.
I could
couldn't
be
tell
wrong,
you one way or the other.
but it looks a little bit West Coastish. You know what I mean? So maybe Bryce is a little bit smaller. He's got to get rid of the ball on time. Maybe he's a pistol style quarterback. I know they ran a lot of pistol and a lot of 10, 11 personnel in college. So I think that's something you got to get back to. I think Bryce really needs to learn. It's an unfortunate situation for him, but I think they threw him to the wolves too soon.
Well, he shouldn't have played right away.
I don't think Caleb should be playing right now. Not with that offense.
I don't think Caleb should be playing.
He's not going to learn anything.
I think, honestly, the Bears should have been outlawed for being able to draft a quarterback at number 1.
Yeah, they should have. They should have got the left tackle. They should have got the left tackle. You still could have got Roma Dunze. You could have built off of Justin Fields. We're not saying Caleb's horrible, but there was a lot of red flags going into this draft with Caleb Williams. We said it time and time again. The guy does not throw in rhythm enough.
Yeah.
And that's also something that we're looking at Shador. Shador's he drifts so much in the pocket. I'm like, why are you still standing? Why are you still drifting? Sit your feet. I mean, we watched the Coach JB show. I mean, he was keeping it real. Mac McChesney was mad, but I was like, he has quarterback eyes. Like, you're not supposed to be continuing to drift because you're drifting into sacks. You need to stand there and just get hit in the mouth or get outside the pocket, make a play, throw the ball away. There's a lot of times these guys love to hold on to the ball. For what? I have no idea. It's hot potato.
I don't know.
You got to get rid of the ball. If you can't find your second or third guy within 3 seconds, then you got to get rid of it. You have to. These guys are too fast.
I'll tell you though, when you watch, and we're getting off topic, but when you watch Colorado play and you can see where the receivers are, it's hard sometimes to understand what their concept or what their scheme is they're trying to do because all you see is 4 receivers 20 yards downfield. It's kind of like, okay, give your quarterback a shot, give him some levels, give him something coming across.
They need to max protect them.
Just because you've got this speed doesn't mean that you got to be running, nines and posts and you've got a go, a post, a corner, and a deep dig on the backside. Like, come on, man. Can we get something under 10 yards? Give him an outlook guy, something like that. So sometimes you got to wonder, too, what are these coaches doing with these kids? We're going to send everybody. We're going after the big play every time, and it gets a little much. So, anyway, it's not.
Don't get me wrong, man. Colorado, past 2 games, they have been coached very well. So kudos to them.
You say that because they're winning?
Nah, it's just fundamentally they look better.
Okay.
Fundamentally, like all I wanted to see is you compete. Well, all I wanted to see you do is compete, but they're actually running the ball now. For the past 2 games, they've had over 100 yards rushing. That helps. They never used to run the ball.
That's true.
But they need to mix up 11 and 12 personnel, throw in some 22 there. Hell, throwing a little bit of 23 if you can. But they say they don't have tight ends. Like I don't understand it that you have Division I ball players and you can't find a tight end who can just block for 2 seconds. I don't understand that.
I don't understand how the University of Michigan doesn't have a 5-star quarterback on their roster. So,
well, their head coach left, so they left.
There's lots of things that not understand.
Head coach left. They left.
Today's Monday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. You'll see the show tomorrow when it comes out.
Monday night, baby.
We got some Monday night games to go over. We're going to talk about them just because we're excited about them. And when you see this, you'll be able to see if what we said was right or wrong. We got Jacksonville at Buffalo. What do you got going on in this game?
Where is it at?
This game's in Buffalo.
Well, the way this league's been moving right now, I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville steals one in the September timeframe. This is the perfect time to beat the Bills.
They could, but they won't.
They're coming off a dominant win. Josh Allen, it wasn't a crazy performance, but the game was out of hand. You finally got a run game. There's a lot of things to be thankful about. That defense is playing really well. Trevor Lawrence, these guys really haven't won a game in the past,
It's been a minute.
9 games, something like that. It's been bad. So we're going to see what you're made of. Were they in the same draft class? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I think not.
Or was Lawrence
came after?
Trevor was with Zach Wilson in them, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He came after. So
he's the Lone Ranger that's actually playing. So we'll see.
This is the game that Buffalo should dominate.
I need 40 points, Josh. 40 points.
But these are the games that they often fail in, right? You kind of alluded to that. I don't see this being a contest. I expect Josh Allen to have a big night tonight, and I expect the Bills to dominate the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next, we have Washington at Cincinnati. This is an extremely intriguing game, especially if you're a Cincinnati fan, right? This, I feel like the season's on the line for the Bengals tonight. If they don't win, I don't see how they get back into it 0-3. We agree that Jaden Daniels to this point has been the best rookie so far, even though we saw Bo and Caleb have some upwards movement this past week. Does
Sure.
Daniels continue to improve, or does Joe Burrow get on track tonight, Brandon?
I think Burrow gets back on track tonight. You got T. Higgins that's active now, so that's definitely a huge part of their offense. I think you start feeding Jamar Chase, really getting him going. Hopefully he has a big game as well too. Fantasy, please, Jamar, please show up and give me 6 points. That's all I need, right? That's all I need. But I think the Bengals get this one. I think they find a way to get it done. I am a little bit concerned with Daniels, as talented as he is. It's something about that stadium. That guys get laid out in that stadium.
Cincy?
Think about it.
Who got laid out in Cincy?
Didn't DeMar Hamlin get laid out there too?
That was Buffalo.
Was that in Buffalo? No, I think that was in Cincy. That was in Cincy.
You're right.
Antonio Brown got laid out there. Hines
Cincinnati.
Ward got laid out. It's like guys getting laid out in Cincinnati, like especially on primetime games. I've always seen this when I was a kid. Anytime a primetime game was out, I'm just saying, dude, get down, please. Get down. Protect yourself, Jaden.
This is the first time that
please
the
protect yourself.
We'll get a chance to see Washington and Jaden Daniels.
He's not bad. He's not
tell
bad
you
at
what,
all.
I love Joe Burrow, right? My grandmother is a big Cincinnati Bengal fan, and I say that as to the fact that she loves their helmets.
Cool helmets.
I will typically root for the Bengals, if not for anything but for her. But again, I love Joe Burrow. I suspect that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to lose again tonight. Washington's going to get a huge upset tonight, and Cincinnati's going to go in the tank, and we're going to have to talk about it next week.
For you to say that, and picking Washington.
Yeah, that hurt.
Wow.
That's a real pick right there, folks. That just goes to tell you there's no favoritism here, right? Because I hate the Washington, whatever they call themselves.
Give me Burrow, man.
I
think they're on thin ice right now. They need to get a win because
no question.
Right now they are last in their division.
Wow.
So
they got problems.
They're the only team without
the only
a win.
winless. Yeah.
Only winless team in their division.
They need to get it together.
They need to get it together. So you, like Akeem said, they would do what? They play off of motivation.
Yeah.
This is motivation right here. This is a motivation game.
You're right. There's a lot of motivation in this game.
I got Bengals big in this one.
Okay.
I got Bengals big.
Bengals big. See. I hope so. Let's go Bengals.
Bengals big.
I got a bad feeling. So we got the next week. Week 4 is coming up. We got to talk about some massive matchups. I'm going to drop some for you. Just some I think that we should watch. New Orleans versus Atlanta. Carr and Kirk Cousins. Both quarterbacks have been on a tear, so something's got to give there. Steelers Colts I think is interesting. 2 future quarterbacks of this league, and Justin Fields 3-0. Does he continue to give lessons? Bills and Ravens, to me, biggest game of the week. That is an AFC title game, maybe preview. If you take the Chiefs out of it, it's certainly a playoff matchup. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson have not beaten the Bills in the playoffs. However, they're 2-1 against the Bills in the regular season. The game's in Baltimore. huge game for both Lamar and Josh Allen. I think it's an early season game, but huge game on right there because they'll probably play in the playoffs. So those are my 3 huge games to watch out for next week and huge quarterback matchups. What do you have?
It's not really, besides Lamar and Josh Allen, that's the one that really stood out, but we haven't talked about this one. And this one, this coach may have the chance to get his revenge. Nathaniel Hackett, Sean Payton goes to the New York Jets. And they play old Aaron Rodgers, who, in fact, Rodgers did at a time want to go to Denver.
How good did Aaron Rodgers look this past weekend?
He looked amazing. Hasn't missed a beat. I have Sam Darnold versus potentially Jordan Love or Malik Willis. 2 of the guys who were written off.
Wait, are we putting Malik Willis in that? I mean,
right now he's the only guy that's got him 2 wins. And he's been playing phenomenal. He's 87% completion in his last 2 games. Put some respect on that. The man just got signed in August.
I understand.
Late August, right?
Okay.
Another game I'm really looking forward to.
Matchup.
I think this matchup's just going to be electric. Kyler Murray versus Jaden Daniels. I think it's going to be an electric match.
That's a fun game.
I just think 2 Heisman winners.
Yeah, that's a fun
one's
game
the
maybe.
young bull ready to fly. The other one's like, okay, I'm back, and I'm going to show you why, because Call of Duty isn't out yet. So I'm going to have a great game. Nah, I'm messing with you. I love Kyler,
so
man.
Essentially, Kyler Murray's going to play well until November, and then
I don't
he's
know.
going to fall off. Because Kyler looks awesome right now.
Now here's one that we need to look at, and this is a potential playoff matchup.
Okay.
The Kansas City Chiefs versus the LA Chargers.
You know what?
If Herbert's healthy,
he's not.
Then it's a wrap.
Sorry
about that, fans.
His ankle went out again yesterday, and he was limping around pretty good. Justin Herbert's hurt, man. He's
hurt. Yeah, they got him by 7.
I didn't circle that. Until Justin's healthy, I just think the Chargers are a mess.
All bad, man.
All bad. So, anyway, man, this was fun. We got some good topics in. Hey, if you guys want us to talk about a certain topic, if you want us to talk about a certain player that we're not talking about, make sure you drop it in the comments. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. But subscribe so you know, because we put out videos and shorts, just this show, every single week. Lots and lots of videos are coming out your way. That'll do it for this week's edition of the QB Huddle Podcast. Again, please like, share, subscribe so you can get all of our content. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to our producer, Brandon Franklin and New Era Media. Thank you to Marcus Watson and Sean Twix Edwards for all you do on the social media side. Brandon, you got anything to say to the folks before we go?
Man, have a great week.
A
great week. We will see you guys back again on Tuesday nights.
On Tuesday. Until then, keep those chains moving.
See ya.